Hi, welcome back to Unit 3, Punctuation. This is Lesson 6, Other Punctuation. You'll find this information in your textbook on pages HB 95 through HB 98. Some carpenters can do their jobs using only a hammer and a saw, but most rely on additional tools. The same is true of writers. You can get along with just a few punctuation marks, but having some others in your toolbox, like colons, dashes, parentheses, brackets, ellipses, and slashes, can help you say what you want more precisely and can help your readers follow what you write more easily. Colons are used to direct attention to words that follow the colon, an explanation or elaboration, a list, or a quote, for example. A colon says, "Stay tuned for important information." What I remember best, strangely enough, are the two things I couldn't understand and over the years grew to hate: grammar lessons and mathematics. Grammar lessons and math explained what the writer grew to hate. I sized him up as fast as possible. Tight black velvet pants pulled over his boots, black jacket, a red, green, yellow scarf slashed around his neck. What follows the colon in this sentence is a list that details what the speaker noticed. This sentence is an example of a quotation following a colon. She also voices some common concerns. The product should be safe, it should be easily accessible, and it should be low priced. And this example illustrates a colon preceding an explanation. 15 years after the release of the Carnegie Report, College Board surveys revealed data are no different. Test scores still correlate strongly with family income. Colons are also used after the salutation in a business letter, as shown here. In ratios, by the way, when reading a ratio aloud, the colon is replaced by the preposition to. For best results, add water to powder in a 3-to-1 ratio. Between titles and subtitles. Between the city and publisher in a bibliography or works cited entry. Between a Bible chapter and verse, like Proverbs 18:21. And, of course, between the hours, minutes, and seconds when telling time. You can create a dash by typing 2 hyphens with no spaces before or after, or by selecting the M dash from the symbol menu of your word processing program. Use dashes to set off material you want to emphasize. Unlike colons, dashes can appear not only after an independent clause, but also at other points in a sentence. To set off material at the end of a sentence, place a dash before it, as shown in this sentence. After that, the roller coaster rises and falls, slowing down and speeding up, all on its own. To set off material in the middle of a sentence, place a dash before and after the words you want to emphasize. For example, it did not occur to me, possibly because I am an American, that there could be people anywhere who had never seen a Negro. Dashes can also signal a shift in tone or thought. The best way to keep children home is to make the home atmosphere pleasant and let the air out of the tires. In this case, Dorothy Parker uses a dash before the punchline of a quip. Keep in mind that dashes are most effective if they're used only when material needs particular emphasis. Too many dashes can interfere with the flow and clarity of your writing. Use parentheses to enclose supplemental details and digressions, or short asides. In this example, the writer, Stephen Carter, uses parenthetical asides to illustrate his point about the kind of etiquette he was taught in grade school. Carter residents, Stephen speaking, and we were quizzed on whether the knife blades point in or out. In this example from Diana George, She uses them to show how people define success, a VCR and a color TV. In this final example from Dara Mayers, she uses parentheses to let the reader know she's protecting the identity of study participants. Brackets are squared off parentheses. They're used primarily to indicate you've added words to a quotation. This is usually done to clarify the speaker's meaning, such as here. As Senator Reid explained, she, Nancy Pelosi, realizes that you cannot make everyone happy. The name in brackets explains who she is, since we have no way of knowing to whom Reid is referring without seeing the rest of the source material. If you're quoting a source that contains an error, put the Latin abbreviation SIC, S-I-C, in brackets after the error to indicate that the mistake is in the original source. SIC, by the way, is an abbreviation for erit scriptum, or thus it had been written. This example uses a quote with two errors. The first is stylely, which isn't actually a word. The second error is the apostrophe in the word its, which is used here as a possessive pronoun. And I'm sure you recall from Lesson 5 that possessive pronouns are always apostrophe-free. Save those puppies. Ellipses are the three spaced dots that indicate an omission or a pause. They show you've left out words from the quote. Note that there's a space before and after each of the dots, as you can see in this close-up. In the second half of this example, there's another set of ellipses. This one is a bit different because it shows that a complete sentence or more in the middle of the quoted passage has been omitted. Here the ellipses begin following the period, so there are actually 4 dots instead of 3, and there's no space in front of the first dot because it's a period and not an ellipsis. You know how poetry often has short lines? When you quote 2 or 3 lines, instead of writing it as the poet does, you use slashes to separate the lines. Here's what that looks like. In the opening lines of the poem, he warns the reader to lift not the painted veil, which those who live call life. You'll note there's a space before and after the slash. The citation in parentheses tells the reader that these are lines 1 and 2 of P.B. Shelley's sonnet. Also note the period follows the closing parenthesis, making the citation part of the sentence, but not part of the quote. In Lesson 6, we talked about how and when to use colons, dashes, parentheses, brackets, ellipses, and slashes. You should check Canvas to see if there are any quizzes over other punctuation. I'll see you next time for Lesson 7, hyphens. In the meantime, if you have questions, please let me know. Thanks for stopping by. And thanks to Slides Carnival and Unsplash for their help with my slides template. See you next time.